Hey story lovers. If you're into mystery, suspense, and unexpected twists, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, relax, and let's dive into today's story. Serena had always been ordinary. A small-town girl with big dreams, she worked as a junior assistant in one of the largest corporations in the world, owned by the elusive billionaire Alexander Hunt. He was known for his cold exterior, his untouchable wealth, and the secrecy that surrounded him. No one truly knew who he was or what he was about, except that he was ruthless in business and a man with few personal ties. She'd often overheard whispers about him at the office, rumors of affairs with models, actresses, and high-society women, but nothing solid. Alexander seemed like the kind of man who had everything, yet nothing real. She'd never thought much about him until one day, when their paths unexpectedly crossed. Serena's quiet demeanor had drawn his attention. He watched her from afar, her modest smile, the way she moved with grace, how she carried herself without needing to flaunt anything. It wasn't like him to be intrigued by someone who didn't play the same games as the women he usually surrounded himself with. But there was something about Serena that pulled at him, something more than just her beauty. "What makes you different, Serena?" he wondered silently, an unspoken question that lingered in the back of his mind as their paths continued to cross at work. What was it about this quiet assistant that made him feel like there was something worth discovering? One evening, after a long business meeting, Alexander invited Serena for dinner. At first, she hesitated, unsure of his intentions. A man like him didn't seek out the company of someone like her unless there was something in it for him. But curiosity got the better of her, and she agreed. What happened next would change everything. The dinner was filled with laughter, light-hearted conversation, and a connection that neither of them had anticipated. He asked about her life, her dreams, her ambitions, things no one had ever cared to know before. But every time their hands brushed or their eyes locked, a spark ignited between them, an undeniable chemistry. However, as the evening wore on, she sensed something was wrong. Alexander seemed distant at times, as if torn between wanting her and fearing the consequences. He had everything at his disposal, wealth, power, influence, yet when it came to her, he was uncertain. "You're different from anyone I've ever met," he admitted, his voice low. "But I can't give you the life you deserve. I'm not the man you think I am." Serena's heart raced. His words hung in the air, leaving her with a bitter taste of doubt. Could she trust him, or was she just another fleeting moment in his life of luxury? What if he was simply interested in the idea of her, not her true self? The following weeks were a whirlwind of confusion and longing. Serena couldn't deny the connection they shared. Every moment with Alexander felt like a step closer to something real, yet she felt as if she were standing on the edge of a cliff, staring down into the unknown. She had always been cautious, holding her innocence close, believing in love that wasn't tainted by the harsh realities of life. But here she was, torn between her desire for him and the fear of losing herself. Alexander, on the other hand, was losing his grip on control. He had spent years building an empire, becoming a man who could have anything, except love. He had never truly let anyone in, never allowed himself to feel anything for anyone. But with Serena, he saw something he hadn't seen in years, a future, a possibility of something pure. "Why are you so afraid of me?" Serena asked one night, her voice trembling. "I'm not like the women you're used to. I'm not interested in your money or your world. I just want to know you, truly know you." He looked at her, the weight of his past bearing down on him. He had never wanted anyone this much, but the fear of losing his identity, his control, kept him from fully giving in. "I don't deserve you, Serena. I'm not the man you think I am. You're too good for me." The words stung. She could see the conflict in his eyes, the battle between his desire for her and the guilt of his past. But Serena wasn't going to give up so easily. She had already fallen for him, and she wasn't going to let fear stop her. As their relationship deepened, the cracks began to show. Serena had always felt like an outsider in his world. His wealth, his power, and his status cast a shadow over her. The people in his life, his friends, his colleagues, looked at her as if she didn't belong. She wasn't the polished, sophisticated woman they were used to. She was just a simple girl from a small town, and that difference was becoming harder to ignore. The pressure was suffocating. Serena questioned her place in his life, wondering if their love could survive the differences between them. Alexander's ex-girlfriends, his family, and the media all had opinions about their relationship, adding to the strain. But it wasn't just the external pressures. The internal conflict was just as intense. Alexander was constantly battling with his past, his mistakes, his broken relationships, and the deep-rooted fear that he was unworthy of Serena's love. But despite everything, he couldn't stay away from her. One night, after an argument, Alexander found himself at her doorstep. "I don't know if I can do this, Serena," he confessed, his voice heavy with emotion. "I'm afraid I'll hurt you. I'm afraid I'll destroy us both. Serena looked at him, tears welling up in her eyes. Then don't let go, she whispered. We're already in this together. We'll figure it out, one day at a time. Their love was far from perfect, but they knew one thing for sure, it was real. Despite the obstacles, despite the fear and doubt, they chose to fight for each other. And in that fight, they found something they never thought possible, a love that was pure in its imperfection.